I'm Bruce Casella, FaceTiming with PTHA President Sal DeBunda. Sal, I trust all is well with you and your family. How's things going?
We're persevering. We're bored, but we're persevering. We're trying to keep ourselves healthy and safe, and at the same time work on the issues we have to do for the PTHA. Before you get started, Bruce, I would like to thank Mike Bellezzi and our staff and our accountants and our lawyers and our lobbyists. We've been working hours a day to try to do everything we can to do the things that we need under this unfortunate situation and to protect our horsemen. So I want to just reach out and thank all of them for the effort they put in.
Sal, you wanted to address the PTHA membership about our situation at Parks. Please tell us the latest.
I've heard of some of the different concerns, so I'm going to try to address as many of those as I can. The first big question is, when will we be able to resume racing? The truth is, I do not know the answer to that. I have a goal in mind of probably June 1 of this year, but I have no indication that that's necessarily going to happen. The factors are that number one is that the governor controls that, and he will be deciding whether or not facilities can open and what's essential and not essential. Right now, the casinos and racetracks are not essential on his list. So that's up to the governor. It's also going to be up to our landlord, in a sense, the racetrack. I had had discussions with them, and until the casino was open, I don't see them taking the risk or spending the money to open the racetrack. So I think that you're going to have to at least see the casino and the racetrack open together, or the racetrack opens soon after the casino does. And that's for two purposes. They don't want to expose their employees who have to work, including the jockeys, to the virus unless it's really safe to do that. So I really don't have an answer yet as to when we're going to open. I am hoping that it would be as early as May 15th, but I'm guessing it's more likely to be in the June 1 to June 15th timeframe. The question has also been raised, Bruce, about when will horses be allowed through the gate to start filling the stalls that aren't filled now. I've had discussions with the COO of the track, Joe Wilson. He thinks it's too premature yet to do that because we don't know when we're going to be resuming racing. He's very concerned about other employees coming in and owners coming in and all that. So I think that right now that's probably a topic that's 2 weeks away from now. I think we have an understanding that when we think we're about a month away, that he will open the gate. But again, there'll be restrictions, no extra help. Only present parks owners and trainers will be involved. But I think that the goal is to open it up at least 30 days prior to the expected opening of the track, so that we can get the 2-year-olds in there and to get horses more fit to be able to run when we do open. The question has been raised as to when the gate will be available for breezes and the training at the gate, especially for the young horses. We suspended that as of last weekend because it was going to cost us $1,500 a day to keep that open. We have the right, the PTHA, to ask for it to be open at any time. But when we do, we'll be paying $1,500 a day until the racing resumes to keep that open. Our anticipation is that we will probably do that 2 to 3 weeks prior to the expected opening of the track. Again, we don't know when that will be, and that will cost us money to have the training crew available to us. While I'm on the idea of payments, we are now paying $22,000 a week to keep the track open for training. That's coming out of the PTHA's funds. The track has been good enough to finance us with respect to that, but we still will have to pay that money back when racing resumes. The things we have to overcome Um, we're worried about safety when that occurs. Right now, we have some masks available. We're ordering about 500 masks. We're going to make them available to every person who works on the backside, whether they live there or come in for training. We have given out thermometers. We've given out all sorts of information about keeping it safe, not only now, but when we resume racing. I've heard comments that trainers are talking to each other on the rail. That may have been a great tradition in the past, but I think that we should be keeping our social distancing and not, standing next to each other on the rail. That's risky. We should be wearing a face mask whenever we're out in public to try to keep this down. Because right now we've been lucky enough not to have a positive at the track, but if that occurs, it's going to create a whole new scenario for us to deal with. Not only for the quarantine of the person who was affected and who they've been in contact with, but for all the other horses and employees that are there. That's a total unknown. Once we get back to racing, I think that we're going to have to protect the jockeys. We're going to have to protect the ground-keeping crew, the gate crew, the people who deal with racing, even if we have no patrons. We're going to have to deal with the ambulance drivers, etc. So we're going to have to be very careful about doing that. But it's our intention that we'll do whatever is necessary. While we're on that subject of opening, you may have heard that the state legislature passed a statute that said that the tracks should reopen if they're complying with the CDC. That really wouldn't help us that much, because the only way to comply with that would be right now to have social distancing. The casinos would not open; they would just basically have online table games and online slots for which we get no share. I'm understanding that the governor is going to veto that anyway. But when it gets to be a more realistic situation that we can have an opening of the track, we're going to try to be listed as one of the facilities that's able to do that. You need to make sure your employees who are not feeling well can come in. You should make it clear to them that they won't lose their jobs, because a lot of the workers we have depend on that income, and they're afraid if they don't come to work, they'll lose their jobs. We should make it clear to them that the safety of our other people is more important, and that if they don't feel well, they should stay home. And now the question that's been asked is, when we do come back, what will our purses be? That's a difficult question, because there's so many things up in the air and things we don't know yet. As you know, our purse revenue comes from slot revenue and from pari-mutuel revenue. We have no idea what the slot revenue is going to be in person versus online. As you may know, we get obviously a percentage of the slots that are bet online and at the OTBs. We get zero of the slots that are you bet online. I have a fear that initially the tracks are going to encourage people to bet online for safety reasons. That will not result in any revenues to us from slots. So we need to encourage the track management to do whatever they can and get people into the OTBs and the casinos so that we do have revenue, but it's going to be a slow process before which the people who come in are going to feel comfortable and safe. The pari-mutuel revenue is also another issue, because if we don't have patrons, it's not going to be like it was in the past. So up in the air is what our slot revenue is and what our pari-mutuel revenue is. In addition to that, there's a budget that's going to be passed on July 1 of this year. We don't know whether it's going to be the same. We don't know whether or not they're going to take additional money to help pay for the cost of fighting the virus in Pennsylvania, or whether they'll take money from our fund to help with any budget shortfalls that they may have. It seems pretty likely to me, and this is me speaking in talking with our lobbyists, that the $200 million that the governor was going to take, he did not have support for, and probably will not happen. I'm not certain of that, but I see that as unlikely. but I see possibly the fact that we will be asked to contribute more than we already do, which is about 30 some million, to either the cost that they've had to incur fighting the virus or to the shortfall that will occur in the budget as it's the fact that basically the Commonwealth's been closed down for 3 months. So my guess is that we're going to target to probably be 50% less than we were, maybe in the 150 range, opening up, and that we'll continue that until some of these unknowns become more clear, like what our slot revenue actually is, what our power mutual is, what our budget effect changes are, and things like that. So until that's all sorted out, I think we're going to probably start at about 60% or 50% of where we were and let it go from there when we have more information. We also intend to propose that instead of closing in August, I don't think we need more time off. I think that we will probably try to run 3 days a week during the summer, including the time we were supposed to be closed in August. I think I've already mentioned this. There's been concern about, will the governor ever consider us an essential business? I don't see that. There are other facilities, not gaming, but that are like us in terms of the Philadelphia Orchestra, the Philly Pops, all entertainment venues, which would have crowds and people. He has not determined any of those to be essential. He's had limitations on the size of the number of people that can be in any facility. So until that changes, I don't see that will be considered an essential business. The questions, I've been getting a lot of questions about what about the fact that some tracks are running without patrons. That's unfortunate, but you have to recall, if you've been looking at the news, that Pennsylvania is one of the hot spots for the outbreak of the virus, along with New York and New Jersey, Louisiana, and other states. And they also have different Democratic or Republican governors. So everyone's taking a different view, and as the president has made clear, it's up to the governors to decide. Our governor felt very early that he should do whatever he could to minimize the risk, and he continues to have that point of view. So I can't change what's happening in the other jurisdictions. All I can tell you is that in Pennsylvania, we're trying to do everything through the PTHA that we can to get ourselves open as soon as possible. I've also been asked about where horsemen can get help. Unfortunately, the PTHA has no income coming in while we've been incurring expense. So we don't have the facilities to set up any kinds of help funds or things like that. What we are doing, now that we've reached an agreement on the training cost, we are going to be releasing half of the money that was held back last year for workman's comp. We're keeping the other half in there because, well, I said earlier that the track is letting us basically borrow that money from them for the training. Part of the collateral for that payment is the funds that are in the workman's comp fund. So we're going to be distributing half of it as soon as we can. And if we actually get through where we reopen and that expense goes away, we'll probably distribute the other half. We had basically a webinar where we talked to people from Maryland and Pennsylvania about what they can do. There's the PPP, that's the payroll protection plan that's available. If you qualify, there's loan programs available. You should be talking with your accountants and or lawyers about taking advantage of that. If you don't have an accountant or a lawyer to deal with, we can recommend someone, but we're not in a position to be able to pay for the cost of those advisors to you. But as I said to you, we're going to be giving out the workman's comp money as soon as possible. I want to see, Bruce, if you have any further questions or comments, and I'd be glad to respond to them.
No, I think that'll do it, Sal. We got to do this more often. I think the horsemen would appreciate that. And of course, I want to thank you for spending your time with us today. And thank you, Sal, for your leadership and all that you do for the PTHA and for horse racing in Pennsylvania.
Before I close, I just want to tell everyone out there to please put on their mask when they're out.
I'm
I
sure
was
they'll
lucky
listen
enough.
to you.
I was lucky enough that my daughter made this mask for me that has Kentucky Derby on it, so I get a lot of attention from people when I'm out, probably more attention than I want. But thank you all for your time, and again, we'll be doing this again in the future as I get more information. You all have a good day and be well.